No one in Washington expected that Aaron Burr would become the living symbol of a conspiracy that would frighten a nation. He had been vice president, a brilliant if slippery lawyer, and the man who killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel in 1804. That single act left him politically pariah and exiled from the East's power circles. So Burr drifted west into the unsettled territories beyond the Appalachians, and there, between river smoke and frontier taverns, an audacious scheme began to take shape. This is the story of ambition, blurred loyalties, and a courtroom that would define treason for the United States. After his humiliation in New York, Burr quietly cultivated allies among frontier elites and foreign agents. He found refuge and an eager collaborator in Harmon Blennerhassett, an Irish gentleman who owned a secluded island in the Ohio River. Blennerhassett's house became a rendezvous where Burr gathered volunteers, money, and men with muskets and boats, enterprising veterans, disappointed politicians, and restless settlers who imagined a new polity of their own. At the center of the drama stood General James Wilkinson, governor of the vast Louisiana Territory. Officially a military man of the United States, Wilkinson had long maintained secret ties to Spain. He was on Spain's payroll as a confidential correspondent, and his loyalties were mercurial. Burr courted Wilkinson, believing the general's sanction could make or break any Western venture. In private, Wilkinson appeared to offer support. In public, he sought protection from Washington at the first hint of trouble. The conspiracy's outlines were murky and disputed, then as now. Burr's supporters later argued he intended only to found a new, independent state in the Trans-Appalachian West, an autonomous bloc that might better the lives of Western settlers who felt neglected by the federal government. Critics and witnesses described a darker plan. Burr aimed to seize New Orleans and the lower Mississippi, detach the Western territories from the Union, or even march into Spanish-held Mexico to carve out an American empire. He ordered boats, raised money, and at Blennerhassett's Island assembled a flotilla and an uneasy army, enough to alarm officials. Tensions snapped when James Wilkinson, fearing exposure and perhaps seeking political advantage, betrayed Burr. Wilkinson rode to President Thomas Jefferson and dramatized a plot against the Union. He sent letters, he supplied testimony. The president, convinced of a threat to the Republic, issued orders, and the reach of federal justice extended into the frontier. Men were arrested, camps broken up, and the quiet island was ransacked. Blennerhassett's fortunes were ruined. Burr was seized in 1807 and brought east to face the gravest charge a citizen could receive: treason. The trial became a spectacle, part legal drama, part political theater. Chief Justice John Marshall, a towering figure of the bench, presided. The prosecution presented testimony of secret meetings, coded correspondence, and militia gatherings, but Marshall demanded a strict reading of the Constitution. Treason required an open, overt act, an actual assembly to levy war against the United States, not merely plotting or ambiguous movements. That legal standard was Burr's salvation. The government could point to men gathering, to bateaux on the Ohio, to confidential messages, but it could not produce the clear physical act of levying war that the Constitution required. In the end, the jury acquitted Burr. The verdict did not restore his stature. He was ruined in reputation and forced into exile. Blennerhassett was impoverished. Wilkinson, the double agent, remained a stain of the era's politics. Historians have argued ever since over what Burr truly intended. Was he a schemer who sought to cleave the Republic, or a desperate politician attempting to carve out a stake for the forgotten West? What is certain is that the Burr affair exposed the fragility of a young nation, revealed the dangerous mix of personal vendetta and political ambition, and produced a landmark legal ruling that tightened the definition of treason in American law. The conspiracy that unfurled on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers was more than a plot. It was a mirror. It reflected a republic wrestling with expansion, divided loyalties, and the limits of federal power. In the hush after the trial, as Burr drifted into obscurity and Wilkinson's duplicity became a whispered scandal, the United States had been forced to look at itself and to decide how to punish betrayal without destroying liberty. The answer Marshall gave that year still echoes in American jurisprudence, and the Burr conspiracy remains one of the most dramatic, ambiguous chapters of the early republic.